The sound of Nathan's laughter drifted through the open window, and my stomach clenched. I knew that laugh. It was the one he reserved for her. I set down my mug of tea with trembling hands and peered out into our backyard. There they were, Nathan and Abigail, heads bent close together over his phone. My husband's childhood friend had become a constant presence in our lives, and I was sick of it. "Hey, you two," I called out, forcing a smile as I stepped onto the patio. "What's so funny?" Nathan looked up, his blue eyes twinkling. "Oh, Molly, come here. You've got to see this video Abby sent me. It's hilarious." I gritted my teeth at the nickname. No one else called her Abby. I walked over, my arms crossed tightly over my chest. Abigail flashed me a bright smile. "Hi, Molly, how are you feeling? Nathan told me you weren't feeling well earlier." "I'm fine," I said curtly. "What's this video about?" Nathan held out his phone, but I made no move to take it. After an awkward moment, he pulled it back. "It's, just a funny cat video. You know how Abby loves those." "Right," I said, "because you two have so much in common." Nathan's brow furrowed. "Molly, what's wrong?" I took a deep breath, trying to calm the anger bubbling inside me. "Nothing. I just thought we were going to have a quiet evening at home. I didn't realize Abigail would be joining us." Again. Abigail's smile faltered. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to intrude. I can go." "No." Nathan said quickly. "You're not intruding. Molly's just tired, right, honey?" I stared at him, incredulous. Was he really going to dismiss my feelings like that? "Actually," I said, my voice tight, "I'd like to talk to my husband. Alone." Abigail stood up, smoothing her skirt. "Of course. I should be heading home anyway. Thanks for the coffee, Nathan." As she walked towards the gate, Nathan called out, "Drive safe, Abby." The moment she was out of earshot, I rounded on him. "What the hell, Nathan? We had plans tonight." He held up his hands defensively. "Whoa, calm down. Abigail just stopped by for a quick coffee. It's not a big deal." "It is a big deal," I snapped. "She's always here, always texting you, always the topic of conversation. I'm sick of it." Nathan's face hardened. "She's my oldest friend, Molly. You knew that when we got married." "Friend?" I laughed bitterly. "Is that what you call it when you spend more time with her than your own wife?" "That's not fair," he said, his voice rising. "I work with Abigail. We're on the same project. Of course we spend time together." I shook my head, fighting back tears. "It's more than that, and you know it. The way you look at her, the inside jokes. I feel like I'm the third wheel in my own marriage." Nathan's expression softened. He reached out to touch my arm, but I pulled away. "Molly, honey, you're overreacting. There's nothing going on between me and Abigail. I love you." I wanted to believe him. God, how I wanted to. But the nagging doubt in my gut wouldn't go away. "Then prove it," I said. "Set some boundaries with her. Put our marriage first." Nathan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "You're being ridiculous. I'm not going to cut off my best friend just because you're feeling insecure." His words hit me like a slap. Insecure? Is that what he thought this was? Before I could respond, Nathan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and I saw Abigail's name flash on the screen. "I have to take this," he said, already turning away. "It's about work." As he walked into the house, answering the call with a cheerful, "Hey, Abby," I stood there, frozen. In that moment, I knew. Something had to change. And if Nathan wouldn't do it, I would have to take matters into my own hands. I stared at the 2 pink lines on the pregnancy test, my heart racing with a mix of joy and dread. After months of trying, we'd finally done it. I was pregnant, but as I stood there in our bathroom, clutching the test, all I could think about was Abigail. Taking a deep breath, I stepped out into the bedroom where Nathan was getting dressed for work. "Nathan," I said, my voice shaky, "I have something to tell you." He turned, his tie hanging loosely around his neck. "What is it, Molly? Is everything okay?" I held out the test. "I'm pregnant." For a moment, Nathan just stared at it, then his face broke into a wide grin. "Oh my God, Molly, that's amazing!" He rushed over and wrapped me in a tight hug. I melted into his embrace, allowing myself a moment of pure happiness. This was what I'd wanted for so long, a family with the man I loved. But then Nathan's phone buzzed, shattering the moment. He pulled away to check it, and I saw that familiar softening of his expression that only happened when Abigail texted. "What is it?" I asked, trying to keep the edge out of my voice. Nathan's smile faltered slightly. "Oh, it's Abigail. She has some news too, apparently. Yeah, she wants to meet up for lunch to tell us." My stomach clenched. "Us? Why does she need to tell us both? He shrugged, already typing a reply. I don't know, but she says it's important. Come on, it'll be fun. We can celebrate our news too. I wanted to argue, to tell him that this should be our moment, just the two of us. But I bit my tongue. Fine, I said. Where are we meeting her? A few hours later, we sat across from Abigail at our usual cafe. She was practically glowing, like her hand resting on her stomach in a way that made my blood run cold. I'm so glad you both could make it, Abigail said, beaming. I have the most wonderful news. I gripped my water glass tightly, already knowing what she was going to say. I'm pregnant, Abigail announced, her eyes shining with tears of joy. Nathan's reaction felt like a punch to my gut. His face lit up and he reached across the table to grab Abigail's hand. Abby, that's incredible! Congratulations! I watched in horror as my husband and his best friend shared a moment of pure elation. It was as if I wasn't even there. Molly? Abigail's voice broke through my shock. Aren't you going to say anything? I plastered on a fake smile. Congratulations, Abigail. That's wonderful news. Nathan turned to me, his eyes dancing with excitement. Can you believe it, Molly? You're both pregnant at the same time. Our kids will grow up together, just like Abby and I did. In that moment, I felt like I was drowning. The thought of our children being as close as Nathan and Abigail made me want to scream. Actually, I said, my voice tight, I'm not feeling well. I think I need to go home. Nathan's brow furrowed with concern. Are you okay? Do you want me to come with you? I shook my head, already standing up. No, you stay. Celebrate with Abigail. I'll be fine on my own. As I walked out of the cafe, I heard Nathan call after me, but I didn't turn back. I couldn't bear to see him comforting Abigail, sharing in her joy while I felt like my world was crumbling. At home, I curled up on our bed, my hand resting on my still flat stomach. This should have been the happiest day of my life. Instead, I felt more alone than ever. My phone buzzed with a text from Nathan. Are you okay? Do you need anything? I stared at the screen, tears blurring my vision. How could I tell him that what I needed was for him to choose me, to put our family first? As I lay there, a resolve began to form in my heart. If Nathan wouldn't set boundaries with Abigail, I would have to take matters into my own hands. For the sake of my child, our child, I had to fight for my marriage. But first, I had to find out exactly what I was up against. The sharp pain in my abdomen jolted me awake. I gasped, clutching my stomach as another wave of agony washed over me. Nathan, I called out, panic rising in my throat. He stumbled into our bedroom, bleary-eyed. Molly, what's wrong? The baby, I choked out. Something's wrong with the baby. The next few hours passed in a blur of ambulance sirens, hospital corridors, and worried doctors. By dawn, I lay in a hospital bed, exhausted and scared, with Nathan holding my hand. The good news is, the baby's okay, the doctor said, her face serious. But you're experiencing some complications, Mrs. Walker. You'll need to be on bed rest for the next few weeks, at least. I nodded, relief washing over me. Our baby was safe, for now. As the doctor left, Nathan squeezed my hand. Don't worry, honey. I'll take care of everything. But over the next few days, it became clear that Nathan's idea of taking care of everything meant calling Abigail for help. I was dozing on the couch when I heard them in the kitchen. Thanks for coming over, Abby, Nathan said. I don't know what I'd do without you. Of course, Abigail replied. Anything for you two. How's Molly doing? She's struggling, Nathan sighed. This bed rest is really getting to her. I clenched my fists, fighting back tears. How dare he discuss me with her like that? Nathan, I called out, my voice sharp. Can you come here, please? He appeared in the doorway, Abigail hovering behind him. What is it, Molly? Do you need something? Yes, I said, sitting up slowly. I need to talk to my husband, alone. Abigail's face fell. Oh, I'll go start on dinner. As soon as she was out of earshot, I turned to Nathan. What is she doing here? He ran a hand through his hair, exasperated. She's helping, Molly. You heard the doctor. You need to rest. And I need my husband, I shot back. Not his, whatever she is to you. Nathan's eyes flashed with anger. She's my friend, Molly. My pregnant friend who's going through this alone. The least we can do is help her out. Help her out? I laughed bitterly. Nathan, I'm your wife. I'm carrying your child, and I'm the one who needs help right now. He softened, sitting on the edge of the couch. I know, honey, and I'm here for you, but Abigail needs us too. I shook my head, tears spilling over. No, Nathan, You need to choose. It's her or me." The silence that followed was deafening. Nathan stared at me, his face a mix of shock and hurt. "Molly, you can't ask me to do that." In that moment, something inside me broke. "I think you've already made your choice," I whispered. Before Nathan could respond, Abigail's voice drifted in from the kitchen. "Nathan? Can you come help me with this?" He hesitated, looking between me and the kitchen door. "I should." "Go," I said, turning away from him. "Just go." As Nathan left the room, I heard him and Abigail laughing together in the kitchen. The sound cut through me like a knife. I placed a protective hand over my stomach, a fierce determination taking root in my heart. If Nathan wouldn't put our family first, I would have to take matters into my own hands. Slowly, carefully, I reached for my phone and dialed a number I never thought I'd use. "Hello?" a gruff voice answered. "Richard?" I said, my voice trembling. "It's Molly. I need your help." Nathan's father was silent for a moment. Then, "What's going on, Molly?" I took a deep breath, steeling myself. "It's about Nathan and Abigail. There's something you and Janet need to know." As I began to speak, I knew there was no going back. But for the sake of my child, I was ready to fight, even if it meant tearing everything apart. The tiny microphone felt like a lead weight in my hand. I stared at it, my heart pounding with a mix of guilt and determination. Was I really going to do this? Spy on my own husband? Molly? Sarah's voice snapped me back to reality. My old college roommate stood in my living room, concern etched on her face. "Are you sure about this?" I nodded, swallowing hard. "I have to know, Sarah, for my sake and for my baby's." She sighed, running a hand through her short blonde hair. "I get it. This is a big step. There's no going back once you do this." "I know," I whispered, "but I can't live like this anymore. The constant doubt, the suspicion, it's eating me alive." Sarah squeezed my shoulder. "Okay, let's do this then." With trembling hands, I unzipped Nathan's work bag. The guilt threatened to overwhelm me, but I pushed it down. I thought of all the late nights at the office, the secretive text messages, the way his eyes lit up when Abigail walked into a room. No, I had to know the truth. I carefully tucked the tiny microphone into a hidden pocket, making sure it was secure. Just as I zipped the bag closed, I heard the front door open. "Molly, I'm home!" Panic surged through me. "Quick," I hissed to Sarah. "Act natural!" Nathan walked into the living room, his eyebrows raising in surprise. "Oh, hey, Sarah, I didn't know you were coming over." Sarah plastered on a smile. "Just checking on the mama-to-be. How are you, Nathan?" As they made small talk, I tried to calm my racing heart. Had he noticed anything amiss? But Nathan seemed oblivious, kissing me on the cheek before heading to the kitchen. "I've got to run," he called out, "meeting Abigail for dinner to go over some work stuff." Of course he was. I clenched my fists, forcing myself to sound casual. "Okay, honey, have fun." As soon as the door closed behind him, I collapsed onto the couch, my legs shaking. Sarah sat beside me, her face grim. "You okay?" I nodded, unable to speak. What had I just done? The next few days were torture. Every time Nathan left the house, I found myself glued to my phone, listening intently through the app connected to the microphone. Most of it was mundane, work conversations, small talk with colleagues, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was missing something. Then, on the third day, I heard it. "Abby, we need to talk." Nathan's voice was low, serious. My heart stopped. This was it. "I know, Nate." Abigail replied, her voice thick with emotion. "I can't keep doing this. It's not fair to anyone." "You're right," Nathan sighed. "We have to tell her. Molly deserves to know the truth." Tears streamed down my face as I listened. My worst fears confirmed. They were having an affair, and now they were planning to come clean. But as I continued to listen, my confusion grew. Something wasn't adding up. They weren't talking about a romantic relationship at all. Instead, I heard phrases like genetic testing and family history. Suddenly, the truth hit me like a ton of bricks. My hand flew to my mouth, stifling a gasp. Abigail wasn't just Nathan's childhood friend. She was his half-sister. The revelation left me reeling. All this time, I'd been suspicious of the wrong thing entirely. But why had they kept this a secret? And what did it mean for our baby? As I sat there, my mind racing, I knew I had a decision to make. Do I confront Nathan with what I've learned, or do I wait for him to come to me? One thing was certain. Nothing would ever be the same again. And as I placed a protective hand over my growing belly, I realized that the stakes were higher than ever. Whatever came next, I had to be ready to fight for my family, no matter the cost. I sat in my car, parked across the street from the little cafe where Nathan and Abigail were meeting. My hands shook as I adjusted the earpiece connected to the listening device in Nathan's bag. This was it, the moment of truth. "Are you sure you want to do this, Molly?" Sarah's voice crackled through my phone. It's not too late to turn back. I took a deep breath. "I have to know, Sarah. For my sanity, for my baby, I need to hear it for myself." As if on cue, Nathan's voice came through the earpiece. "Abby, we can't keep doing this. It's tearing me apart." My heart clenched. Here it was, the confession I'd been dreading and expecting in equal measure. "I know, Nate," Abigail replied, her voice thick with emotion. "But what choice do we have? If we tell Molly the truth, it could destroy everything." Tears blurred my vision as I listened, each word a dagger to my heart. But nothing could have prepared me for what came next. "She deserves to know that her baby might be at risk," Nathan said. "The genetic testing results." I froze. Genetic testing? What were they talking about? Abigail's voice trembled. "I know, but how do we tell her that that he's my father too? That there's a chance our babies could have the same genetic disorder?" The world tilted on its axis. I gripped the steering wheel, trying to make sense of what I just heard. Abigail was Nathan's half-sister. This wasn't an affair. It was something far more complicated. "We have to tell her," Nathan insisted. "And my parents. God, Dad doesn't even know about you. This is such a mess." I sat there, stunned, as they continued to talk. The pieces started to fall into place. The secretive conversations, the intense bond, the shared worry over their pregnancies. It wasn't betrayal I'd been sensing, but fear and guilt over a family secret. Suddenly, a tap on my window made me jump. I looked up to see Richard, Nathan's father, peering in at me with concern. "Molly? What are you doing out here?" Panic surged through me. I scrambled to turn off the listening device and hide the earpiece. "Richard, I was just—" But as I looked into his eyes so similar to Nathan's, and I now realized, to Abigail's, something in me snapped. I got out of the car, my legs shaky but my resolve firm. "We need to talk, Richard. All of us." His brow furrowed. "What's going on, Molly?" I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what I was about to do. "I know about Abigail. I know she's your daughter." The color drained from Richard's face. How did you—" "It doesn't matter," I said, my voice stronger than I felt. "What matters is that we're all going to sit down and talk about this, now." Before he could respond, I marched towards the cafe, Richard trailing behind me in shocked silence. As I pushed open the door, Nathan and Abigail looked up, their faces paling at the sight of us. "Molly?" Nathan stood, his voice filled with confusion and fear. "Dad? What's going on?" I looked at each of them in turn. My husband, his secret sister, their father. The weight of their secrets, of my own actions, pressed down on me, but I refused to buckle under it. "What's going on?" I said, my voice steady, "is that we're going to have a long overdue family meeting, and we're going to start with the truth. All of it." As I sat down at their table, I knew there was no turning back. Whatever happened next would change all of our lives forever. But for the sake of my child, of all our children, I was ready to face it head-on. The tension in Janet's living room was suffocating. I sat on the edge of the sofa, my hands protectively cradling my swollen belly as I faced the people who had turned my world upside down. Nathan paced nervously, unable to meet anyone's eyes. Abigail perched on an armchair, her face pale and drawn. Richard stood by the fireplace, looking like a man about to face a firing squad. And Janet, bless her heart, bustled about offering tea and cookies as if this were just another family gathering. "Enough," I said, my voice cutting through the awkward silence. "It's time we all laid our cards on the table." Nathan stopped pacing, his eyes finally meeting mine. "Molly, I don't know where to start." "How about with the truth?" I snapped, my patience wearing thin. "The whole truth, Nathan, about you and Abigail." Janet gasped, nearly dropping the tea tray. "What about Nathan and Abigail?" I took a deep breath, steeling myself. "They're half-siblings. Isn't that right, Richard?" The room fell silent. All eyes turned to Richard, who seemed to age a decade in that moment. "It's true," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Abigail is my daughter. I had an affair years ago. I never knew about her until recently." Janet's face crumpled. "Richard, how could you?" As Janet's sobs filled the room, I turned to Nathan and Abigail. "And you two? How long have you known?" Nathan ran a hand through his hair. "A few months. We found out when Abigail was doing some genetic testing for her pregnancy. The doctor noticed some similarities in our family histories." "And you didn't think to tell me?" I interrupted, my voice rising. "Your wife? The mother of your child?" "We were scared, Molly," Abigail said, tears streaming down her face. "We didn't know how to tell anyone. And then when we found out about the genetic risk for our babies..." My heart clenched. "What genetic risk?" Nathan knelt in front of me, taking my hands in his. "There's a chance our baby might have a rare genetic disorder. It's why Abigail and I have been spending so much time together. We've been consulting specialists, trying to figure out our options." I pulled my hands away, feeling sick. "So you've been lying to me, sneaking around behind my back, all because you couldn't find the courage to tell me the truth?" "I'm so sorry, Molly," Nathan pleaded. "We never meant to hurt you. We were just trying to protect everyone." "Protect everyone?" I laughed bitterly. "Look around, Nathan. Does anyone in this room look protected to you?" Janet was still crying softly, comforted by a guilt-ridden Richard. Abigail looked like she wanted the floor to swallow her whole. And Nathan? Nathan just looked lost. I stood up, my legs shaky but my resolve firm. "I think I've heard enough. I need some air." As I headed for the door, Nathan called after me. "Molly, wait, where are you going?" I turned back, taking in the scene one last time. This family, with all its secrets and lies. My husband, torn between loyalty to his sister and his wife. My unborn child facing an uncertain future. "I don't know," I said honestly, "but I do know this. I can't stay here. Not now. Maybe not ever." With that, I walked out, ignoring the pleas behind me. As I got into my car, my hands shaking as I gripped the steering wheel, I realized I had no idea where to go or what to do next. But one thing was clear: nothing would ever be the same again. And as I drove away from the house that held so many shattered dreams, I knew I had a choice to make. Fight for this family that had betrayed me, or forge a new path on my own. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in months, I felt a glimmer of hope. Whatever came next, I would face it on my own terms, for myself and for my child. The manila envelope felt heavy in my hands as I stood outside Nathan's office. My heart raced, but my resolve was ironclad. This was it. The moment that would change everything. I took a deep breath and pushed open the door. Nathan looked up, surprise flickering across his face. "Molly, what are you doing here?" "We need to talk," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Now." He nodded, gesturing for me to sit. I remained standing. "I've made a decision, Nathan," I said, placing the envelope on his desk. "I want a divorce." The color drained from his face. "Molly, please, we can work this out. I know I messed up, but..." "No," I cut him off. "There's no working this out. You lied to me. You put Abigail before me, before our child. I can't trust you anymore." Nathan's eyes filled with tears. "What about the baby? Our family?" I placed a protective hand over my swollen belly. "I'll raise this child on my own if I have to, but I won't subject them to a life of lies and divided loyalties." Just then there was a commotion outside. The door burst open, and Richard and Janet rushed in, followed closely by Abigail. "We heard you were here," Janet said, breathless. "Molly, dear, please reconsider. We're family." I laughed bitterly. "Family? Is that what you call this mess of secrets and betrayal?" Richard stepped forward, his face grave. "Molly, I know we've all made mistakes, but surely we can find a way to move past this, for the sake of the children." "The children," I repeated, my anger rising. "You mean the children who might have life-threatening genetic disorders because of your affair? The children who will grow up in a web of lies unless someone has the courage to break the cycle?" Abigail sobbed quietly in the corner. "I'm so sorry, Molly. I never meant for any of this to happen." I turned to her, my voice softening slightly. "I know, Abigail, but intent doesn't change the outcome. We all have to live with the consequences of our actions." Nathan stood, reaching for me. "Molly, please, I love you. We can get through this together." I stepped back, out of his reach. "No, Nathan, love isn't enough. Not anymore." I picked up the envelope and handed it to him. "These are the divorce papers. I'm asking for full custody with supervised visitation for you. I also want alimony and child support." Nathan's face crumpled as he leafed through the documents. This is everything. You're taking everything." "Not everything," I said quietly. Just what I need to start over, to give our child a chance at a life free from all of this. Richard cleared his throat. Now, Molly, let's not be hasty. Perhaps we can come to some sort of arrangement. For the sake of the family name. The family name? I exploded. Is that all you care about? Your precious reputation? Janet stepped in, her voice pleading. Molly, dear, we can help. We'll support you and the baby. You don't have to do this alone. For a moment, I wavered. The thought of facing single motherhood was terrifying. But then I looked at their faces. Nathan's guilt, Abigail's shame, Richard and Janet's desperate attempts to maintain control, and I knew what I had to do. I appreciate the offer, I said, my voice firm. But I think it's best for everyone if I make a clean break. This family has too many secrets, too much baggage. My child deserves a fresh start. I turned to leave, but Nathan's voice stopped me. Molly, wait, what about the genetic testing? What if our baby needs us, all of us, to get through this? I paused at the door, my hand on the knob. The weight of everything, the lies, the betrayal, the uncertain future, pressed down on me. For a moment I felt like I couldn't breathe, but then I felt a small kick from within, my baby reminding me of what was truly important. I turned back to face them one last time. If that happens, I said, my voice barely above a whisper, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But for now, this is goodbye. As I walked out of the office, leaving behind a chorus of protests and pleas, I felt a strange mix of terror and exhilaration. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in months, I felt like I was finally taking control of my own destiny. Whatever came next, I would face it on my own terms, for myself and for my child. The hospital corridor seemed endless as I waddled towards the maternity ward, one hand on my swollen belly, the other clutching my overnight bag. This was it, the moment I'd been dreading and longing for in equal measure. As I approached the nurse's station, a familiar voice called out, Molly! I turned to see Nathan rushing towards me, his face a mix of concern and excitement. Behind him, Abigail waddled along, her own pregnancy now in its final stages. What are you doing here? I asked, my voice tight with pain and emotion. Nathan reached for my hand, but I pulled away. I know I don't have the right, he said, but I couldn't miss this. It's our child, Molly. Before I could respond, a contraction hit me hard. I doubled over, gasping. She needs help, Abigail called out, and suddenly I was surrounded by nurses, being ushered into a delivery room. The next few hours passed in a blur of pain, sweat, and determination. Through it all, Nathan stayed by my side, holding my hand, whispering encouragement. Despite everything, I found myself grateful for his presence. Finally, with one last push, our daughter entered the world. As her cries filled the room, I felt a love so fierce it took my breath away. She's beautiful, Nathan whispered, tears streaming down his face. As the nurses cleaned her up, a doctor approached us, his face serious. Mr. and Mrs. Walker, we need to run some tests. Given your family history, reality came crashing back. The genetic disorder, the reason for all the secrecy and pain. Do whatever you need to do, I said firmly. The weight was excruciating. Nathan paced the room while I cradled our daughter, memorizing every perfect feature. Finally, the doctor returned. I have good news, he said, smiling. Your daughter is perfectly healthy, no signs of the genetic disorder. Relief washed over me, so powerful I thought I might faint. Nathan collapsed into a chair, sobbing with joy. Just then a commotion erupted in the hallway. Abigail's voice, filled with panic, carried into the room. Something's wrong. The baby. Nathan's head snapped up, torn between staying with us and going to his sister. I saw the conflict in his eyes, the same one that had torn our marriage apart. In that moment, looking down at our healthy daughter, I made a decision. Go, I said softly. She needs you. Nathan hesitated. Molly, It's okay, I said, surprising myself with how much I meant it. We'll be here when you get back. As Nathan rushed out, I held our daughter close, marveling at the twist of fate. After everything we'd been through, she was the one untouched by the family's dark legacy. Hours passed. I dozed fitfully, waking to every little sound. Finally, Nathan returned, his face etched with grief. Abigail's baby, he began, his voice breaking. I'm so sorry, I whispered, meaning it despite everything. Nathan looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in months. Molly, I know I don't deserve it, but I want to try again, to be the husband and father you both deserve. I gazed down at our sleeping daughter, then back at Nathan. The anger and hurt were still there, but alongside them was something else. Understanding, compassion, maybe even the seeds of forgiveness. I can't promise anything, I said slowly, but for her sake, I'm willing to try, to find a way forward together. Nathan nodded, tears in his eyes. That's all I ask. As the sun rose on a new day, I felt a glimmer of hope. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. There were still wounds to heal, trust to rebuild, but looking at our daughter, I knew we had a reason to try. Whatever came next, we would face it as a family. Not the perfect, unblemished family I'd once dreamed of, but a real one. Flawed, complicated, but bound together by love and the promise of a new beginning. As I drifted off to sleep, our daughter nestled safely in my arms and Nathan keeping watch nearby, I realized that sometimes the most beautiful things can grow from the most broken places. And that perhaps was the greatest lesson of all.